You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Yes, a nice warm day today. We're going to talk about REACH across Johnson County and the mental health seminar I have coming up May 1st. I have with Erica and Gracie here, and it's going to be lots and lots of fun.
Absolutely.
This is not even close to your first one of these seminars. By my count, it's like your sixth one, but I bet there's more than that. How many?
I think you're right. It's 6.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, right. I mean, because y'all been doing this a little while. Is it still at Pathways, right?
Well, actually, our smaller events, we instead of doing a big conference, we've decided to spread it out through the year, and we are actually partnering with East Cleburne Community Center.
Oh, that's right. I saw your brochure. I guess I'm so used to everything being at Pathway.
Right.
Every event that seems like in this community. I was talking to a couple of the city council members yesterday, and I said, "How about a community center?" And they'd like to do it, but they got some other budgetary concerns. So I don't know if that's going to be happening anytime in the near future. And that's appropriate, I suppose. But anyway, we got Josh, but your mic isn't working, so he'll be talking to us through hand signals. Oh, not that one. Anyway, but anyway, so he's back on there on the job. But let's go ahead and do the sponsors because, well, that's what makes all this possible. You know, of course, our friend Otto. I talked to him yesterday. I'm going to have him on May 19th. I was talking to him yesterday about our place down the road from here. I don't know. How do y'all get into here? You come off Crowley Road or you come in from the west?
From the east, 1187.
1187.
I was like, where am I?
Yeah. So you drove by it, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's supposed to be open in about a week. You're going to do a soft opening, and then after that, it'll be open for everybody. They're going to do like a trial run with some invited guests to kind of get his staff trained, I suppose. And then probably within 7 to 10 days, it's going to be open. And so he's going to be on the show on the 19th to talk about it. It's Our Place 2, which is a smaller version of what he has over in Burleson, but also Gina's Pizza, a great pizza, great atmosphere. I like to go there, particularly in the afternoons. You know, for one thing, they have happy hour beer prices. Second of all, you have the ball game on and that kind of thing, or the soccer match or whatever. And it's a nice, relaxing afternoon. So Gina's Pizza, good music, good service, good food, good golly. Also, Pro Roofing, the hair pullers and prognosticators in the weather said we're going to have some weather this weekend, which I doubt. I really have becoming more and more of a weather agnostic as I get older. I don't believe in weather. You know, I really don't. It's like this last week, you're supposed to have all this bad weather. And then, went to Jacksboro County instead or something like that. Anyway, Pro Roofing with John Williams, 817-734-2756. Erica knows John, and he's a nice man, isn't he?
He is. He is really nice. He's great.
Yeah, and he's really a good at what he does. He doesn't try to upsell you. He didn't try to give you the false implication that your roof's about to cave in or any of this other routine. He'll tell you if your roof is in good shape or not, and he'll help you with the insurance if you need some repairs or replacement. So thank you, John, at Pro Roofing. Another gentleman I'll have on the show in, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks from now, Jeff Kelly at the Withington Agency. We're going to talk about real estate and all this other business. 817-781-0546 is his number. And if you're looking to move in and around the area, he's the one to talk to. He doesn't do just Burleson. Somebody also does Godley and Joshua, which is blowing up. You know, apparently Godley's gotten way out of control. I haven't been over there in a while.
It was so much growth just at one time, just boom, and it was there.
The only time I went to Godley was at that Del Norte. And you want to talk about the taco place?
Oh,
yeah. A lot of people know it, right? But other than that, Godley was just a spot on the map, and now it's blowing up. And so there you go. But he sells all over the county, and we're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about, the current market, what's going on with all of that. So it's something to look forward to. Also, Michelle and Free over at Hotworks, 11 different formats to choose from. The good thing about it is you walk in there and say, this is what I want to see happen. They'll hook you up with the right routine, right regimen, and there you go. And it's done in an infrared system, so it doesn't overstress your muscles or joints or tendons and everything else. It's a really good workout, and I know a lot of people that are members over there, and they like it. And it's also open 24/7. So if you have the proper security codes, you can do your workout at 2 a.m. And I asked Michelle, who works out at 2 a.m.? And you'd be surprised, I suppose. You know, they have several people that do. No thanks. But anyway, she got it available for you. And, of course, Tiffany Jane at Local Life. One of our old friends is on the cover. Gayla Moores is on the cover this month. It's Women in Business. And the next issue will come out the first week of May. See, what is May 1st? Thursday of next week? Yeah, that's right. That's your event.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's coming up real quick, isn't it? A week from Thursday. And you'll probably have your magazine by that weekend, if not earlier. So there you go. Also, well, by the way, just to kind of finish up on Local Life, it really is a good ad placement because you get 30,000 homes that receive it, plus businesses receive it. And so you're going to get a lot of notice there with that. Also, now we can talk about Burleson Buzz, Cody O'Brien. Speaking of which, about local news, last night, this is being a Tuesday, last night they had a city council meeting. So if y'all are interested in what went on last night, check out their webpage on the city because there's a couple of important things they discussed, including two items of note. One is a rezoning on John Jones, but the other one was about the Central Appraisal District and some of the proposed changes. And I talked to Mr. Fletcher and I talked to Mr. Scott and Mr. Russell on this show the last couple of weeks about it, and it's going to have some impact upon the city if it goes through. So you want to check that out. Burleson Buzz, $50 a year, well worth it. And lastly, Medicare counseling and therapy with Jerry Kavanaugh. This is kind of similar to what we're talking about here because he provides counseling and grief services and other kind of mental health services for people on Medicare, which is now covered. And it's a good outfit because, you know, a lot of people my age, we talked about this before when y'all been on the show, a lot of people my age, you know, are reluctant to get involved in these things. I don't know. Maybe we just have a bad idea what it's about. We're going to sit there and cry that we didn't get a pony for Christmas and that kind of thing. But a lot of people, you know, you know, they at my age, you know, they also say, well, I already can't afford it or something like that. But, well, if you're on Medicare, you may qualify for it to be taken care of, and Jerry will help you with that. Call him at 817-992-8034 or gfcavana@swbell.net. Gracie, do you ever know what swbell.net is? Yeah, you know.
I don't. Actually, I don't.
I know. It's one of the early versions, you know, so I've been kidding Jerry. Get yourself a Gmail account, doggone it. You know, so, but anyway, no, it's one of the original ones. Like it's AOL or Flash.net.
I have an AOL. That was my first email when I was like 12.
No,
so
okay.
I'm at least that old.
Well, how old are you? You know, it was about 6-7 years ago. I mean, what are you talking? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, he's located on the third floor of the building where Regal Mambo and the Rim is. I don't know if that building has its own name, but we know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And just get in the elevator by Regal Mambo, go up to the third floor, bang, there you are. So kind of segue into that, you know, healthcare and whatever. May is Mental Health Care Month, is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
Mental health awareness, just, you know, bringing it up in conversation, trying to reduce that stigma that is around it. You know, you said like your age group might not really want to talk about it. And so
what is my age group, by the way? No, I'm 62 and plus. Okay, I'll let you off the hook. Yeah, you're like, I don't, you know.
It's like, I plead the fifth.
No, seriously, people my age, like I'm 62 plus. You know, we have this idea about mental health care people that only certain types of people need it. You know, people that are, quote, mentally imbalanced or crazy or whatever you want to call it, or are not emotionally equipped to handle their problems in life in general, and they use it as a crutch and all that. And it's totally wrong.
It is.
Yeah, it's totally wrong.
It is. In the same way that, you know, you'll go to the doctor for a checkup or a physical or, you know, stress test, check your heart. It's really important to do preventative measures for your mental health too, so that you don't become one of those, you know, quote, crazy people or really find yourself in a crisis.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that I think some people that deny themselves mental health care are unaware of what they are denying other people. In other words, the impact they're having on people in their lives quite often is, you know, destructive or negative or hurtful. And yet they want to do it themselves. They want to be strong. They want to do all these things. and they think they're being a tough, guy that can handle all this, and what they're really doing is damaging their family.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where it got to me. It's like, what impact am I having on my family by me denying the fact that I probably should use some of this out there? And so that, I've come to that conclusion later in life. But the fact is that I kind of wish I'd encountered it earlier, or at least I took advantage of it earlier. I mean, I'm sure I had opportunities, but I wish I'd had taken advantage of it earlier, because some of the things that happened that led me to get some of this counseling in my life may not have had to have happened with all the impact that it did.
Right.
So
it's like you don't have to learn the hard way, but then sometimes that is what brings you to care. And
I guess, but I wish I had just been a little less obstinate, or a little less egotistical, or pride is really the deal. It's too prideful, thinking I can handle what's going on. Well, yeah, that's all great, but this isn't my father's generation. Okay, things are different now. I think life is more stressful, but then again, every generation says that. So there you are. So I'm going to post these to all the various people around town here. There's a bunch that want to hear about this, I'm sure. Now, Erica, this particular seminar on May 1st, what is it going to be specializing in? Anything in particular?
Well, yes. So our Rise Together series, this one is going to be Bloom Where You're Planted, and that will be May 1st from 5:30 in the evening to 8. But we're going to be doing several activities. But learning how to grow in resilience. I mean, we don't always get to pick the hand that we're dealt.
Yeah,
there's going to be things that come up that we can't control, things that that we really have to grow through.
Josh, will you throw up the brochure here, the logo, if you would, please? Well, there's y'all's logo. I meant the event itself, but that's a nice logo. There you go. Okay, so Bloom Where You're Planted. And like you said, it's in Cleburne. Y'all's trying to spread it around as opposed to just doing it in Burleson.
Exactly. Not everybody, we understand that a lot of people that need this kind of service may not necessarily be able to get out to Burleson. It may be a hardship for them. So trying to meet people where they are is really something that we're striving to do. But we'll be decorating flower pots as well and planting flowers.
I have found gardening to be a real good pastime for mental health. Okay, I gardened a while, and then the garden got overrun, and I was busy all the time. And so last year, I rehabilitated the garden area at our home and planted, and it was somewhat successful. There's hit or miss. I've got another one going. So far, it's going okay. But it really is a good mental health exercise. I walk around back there in my little garden area. It's probably about a little bit bigger than this studio. And, just being among the plants,
right,
and watching them develop and quiet, it's a great hobby to get involved in if you want to have something that is helping you with your mental health issues or your mental anxieties.
Absolutely. And just being outdoors, getting the fresh air, the sunshine, there's just something therapeutic about that, tending to something and caring for something. But sometimes, just grabbing a weed and just yanking it out.
Yeah, well, no,
could be therapeutic too.
I just walked through there and I saw there's a couple of nutgrass weeds. I'll just yank them out, or a little bit of clover, yank them out. It's not like I go there and work for an hour and a half. I mean, it's just you go out there and you spend about 5 or 6 minutes just pulling up a few weeds here and there. You keep it somewhat weed free, and it's great when you see it start to produce. And I would recommend that for anybody that is looking for a means of trying to get a little, peace and quiet in their head. Gardening is a great exercise. My wife gardens as well, but not vegetable gardens. She does a lot of flower planting, roses, and whatever else. And and she'll tell you the same thing. It's a great mental health exercise to be out there and outside digging in the dirt. And so this is kind of what y'all are getting at, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I agree. Just kind of immersing yourself in this and being able to relax and focus about something else.
Are you going to have speakers at this?
Absolutely. Our guest this time will be Sarah Tynan. She's a wellness encourager and has worked with us before.
She's been on the show a couple times.
Yes, she is an amazing person, as well as just being, a cheerleader of having good mental health. She's had her own struggles, as we all have, but not all of ours are as public as Sarah. Sarah has been very, very good about speaking up to the community about the things that she's gone through, and she'll be speaking about some of her struggles as well at this event, and share how she was able to just keep going and growing despite life's difficulties and struggles.
Right. I remember her being this is not the first time she's been part of your outfit.
No, absolutely not.
She's been on the show and she was talking about it at one of those events you had at Pathways. And I remember having her on the show and I was not surprised, but I'd noticed just how open she was about these issues. And again, people my age, even if we are going to counseling or having some sort of chemical supplement, if you will, it's not something we like to talk about because we still have that. I don't know. You mentioned, Gracie, you mentioned stigma. It seems like it's just something that we're just not comfortable talking about that much. Oh, at my counselor's the other day. It sounds like something you'd say, if you lived in Beverly Hills. Oh, I was talking to my therapist the other day. And it didn't come natural to us.
Right. I know at least my parents, they're very private. Older generations are very private, want to keep, things that happen in their life to them. But I think Sarah does a wonderful job of sharing her story to really empower other people and just kind of be that example of like, hey, I've gone through this, this, and this is how I overcame that. And now I want to help you through what you're going through.
She does some sort of yoga therapy as well.
She does.
Yes. And so there is definitely a connection between mental health and physical well-being as well. Because I'm sure one of the side effects of being ill or not having good health is depression and things of that nature. But if you can, be active a little bit, like I mentioned with the gardening or others, it seems to be therapeutic on its own. In fact, Michelle has said that she's had customers that talk about they use that HotWorks not just for physical, but for mental health reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It definitely can decrease anxiety. I've started working out myself recently, probably about the last 5-6 weeks. And I've noticed a big change in just like feeling better, feeling more energy and focus and peaceful.
You have a certain routine you do, or is it just be active?
Yeah, there's another place here in town that I go attend a yoga studio. But
there's several of them in this town. And, Michelle will tell you that they're not competitors, but they're more like colleagues, because they each have their own specialty, so to speak.
Oh, and I know that some of them go to other facilities as well.
She gets a lot of business from like the Pilates people, or she'll get some business from some of the more heavy duty workout people, like at the CrossFit gyms. That come in to ease their joints or whatever else.
Right. They can go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. Well, anyway, the point is that there's no question that mental health and physical health are connected.
Absolutely.
And it's, I guess that's one reason why the older generations, my grandparents' generation, or prior to that, they were a lot more active physically because they had to be. That's how they made their living practically. And maybe they were too consumed with that to worry about being depressed. I don't know, or they drank more.
Right.
No, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I've told you before. What my doctor told me is that people were alcoholics a lot more common or back then because they were self-medicating, and you probably deal with those issues as well.
Absolutely.
I've known about your group for 3+ years now, and you do all sorts of things other than just mental health. You also talk about addiction quite a bit.
Yes.
They really go hand in hand. We've heard a lot of even teenagers that start vaping because they have anxiety and they, get curious about it. But then the nicotine in vapes is so strong these days that they get hooked on it. And now whenever they don't have it, it increases their anxiety, but they're using it to help their anxiety. It's a cycle that a lot of kids are falling into these days as well.
Also, those cannabis gummies and stuff like that, and Delta-8, do y'all deal with those kind of issues?
All the time.
All the time.
Especially with them being widely available now with the THCA, Delta-8, Delta-10, all of the loopholes they found to that farm bill. I mean, there's one gas station in Burleson that's really close to a school that has neon lights saying, come get it here, you know? And it's, you can't sell alcohol close to a school, but being able to sell that is just something we're working on changing.
And, I noticed Specs as they will sell cannabis infused sodas.
Yes.
And things like that. And the younger people in my life say it's a better alternative than alcohol and all this other stuff. I'm not really up on all that. I've always been kind of reluctant because it's like, I don't know, just from my generation, THC has a whole different meaning and a whole different, it was a drug, in our days and whatnot. But I'm not really here for that. I'm for y'all, neither are y'all, but I'm just saying you deal with a lot of people that try to self-medicate and all this other stuff, and you're trying to give them ways of doing so without harming their physical health.
Right.
Non-addictive ways.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so at each of our, we call them the Rise Socials. So at each little event, we do a different activity, and they're all related to different ways you can do self-care. So like our first event, we did some crafts, but we also like had an opportunity where you could write a loved one a letter or a card and send it and get connected that way. Gardening, in the future, I'd like to explore, other self-care items, just that maybe people have never thought like, hey, this makes me feel good. And this is helping my mental health.
I know 2 or 3 people that could probably be good people to talk to about this kind of thing, about gardening and whatnot. I have a friend I've known for many, many years. She and her husband own a winery over at Pollerosa over at Cleburne. Donna Patrick. Well, I just know it's Donna Hollowell because that's what she's her first marriage name. She was a widow and then she remarried and she's very happy what she's doing. She's the most biologically aware person I know. I mean, she loves the outdoors and she loves greenery. Her daughter is, Megan. She's mentioned in our group, Megan Swearingen over at Next Step. That's her mother.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know Megan.
We know Megan. And Donna Patrick is like the most green person I've ever met. So she'd be a good one to talk to about being a guest at one of your things because, she's gone through grief. Her first husband died suddenly many years ago and that kind of thing. And she'd be great to have as a speaker, and she'll do it because she loves the outdoors. But anyway, that being said, you talk about is Sarah the only speaker going to be there, or going to be others?
This time it's just going to be Sarah. And we've talked to her, and she's been willing to come out and do other events regarding this.
Well, they're working outside as always. Jonathan, his hands start to twitch if they're not remodeling this place every couple of weeks.
So in this same series, we've talked about doing other events with Sarah, and she has some wonderful ideas, and we're very excited to see what we can provide to the community together.
Now, where exactly is this again? Because I'm not as familiar with Cleveland. I know where the conference center is, and I know some events have been held there, but where exactly is this?
So if you are entering Cleburne, like coming from Keene or Alvarado from the west side going into it, it's
on 67.
It's before you get to like the downtown Cleburne. And so it's over there in the neighborhoods east of downtown, and it's in the old what school is that? Was that the old Cleburne High School?
I don't know if it was the high school or what. I can't remember.
Or an elementary school. It's in one of the really old buildings.
The Cleburne High School, they redeveloped into the Gwynn Justice Center. So I don't.
So that it's not that. It's got to be an old elementary school.
Probably
I want to
so.
say I think it was an elementary school, but I really can't remember which one.
So it's near the downtown area, maybe east of it a little bit.
Yes, and they're a really, really good community center. They do all kinds of stuff. They do food drives weekly. They have a free weekly boxing class, and so if you're looking to, find a way to get active and you just can't see yourself like going to the gym by yourself and just getting on a treadmill like boring, they do like group classes, and so you could also meet new people there, but then get your workout in, and it's completely free for the community.
It's that's an impediment for a lot of people about working out is not so much the physical part, but the tedium of it, because you have to be really dedicated to do it, particularly if you're trying to do it on your own.
Yeah, and accountability is huge. I think the group fitness classes are just the coolest thing ever, because now you've got people who are expecting you to be there, and they're going to call you and like, hey, where are you?
Accountability is a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you do it by yourself, like, I got weights around the house or I got a treadmill at home, it takes a extraordinary amount of self-discipline to be able to do that on a routine basis. My wife works out on one of those, I don't know what you call it. It's not a treadmill. It's
Peloton?
well, it's like that. Yeah, it's like a bicycle kind of thing. Or no, it's not really a bicycle. I don't know what it's called, but basically it's a workout machine, and she's very disciplined at it. But I tried it some, and I was like, I'm just too bored. And she said, well, try to read while you do it or watch the TV while you do it. Nah.
And I'm just standing there watching TV. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to figure out what it was called. Most people think, wow, he's starting to lose it. Oh, well, it happens when you get older.
Well, I mean, that's how most people end up with just an expensive laundry rack in their bedroom.
That's exactly what we use it for sometimes, to hang up yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I look at somebody like my son who's very disciplined about his workout. Now, he has health issues, type 1 diabetes. So he was very cognizant about the need to work out, but he's very diligent at it. He goes to the gym, he does all the stuff, he has stuff at home. And, he's very disciplined about it. And I don't have that discipline.
Right.
So now, as far as other activities, all right, so basically, I'm just trying to get my mind around this. By the way, what time does it start before I go too far?
5:30.
5:30. So you come, 5:30, you're going to have Sarah speak. You're going to do these activities with the planting and things of that nature. How long would it last, more or less?
Well, it's over at 8, of course, if they need to leave before that. And we start with the meal, so they could always come in, a little later. I know some people get off work and struggle to be there right at 5:30, so that's not a big deal.
So it's going to be catered, huh?
Yes, we're going to have a meal and craft and enjoy activities together.
Now, you have a QR code. How much does this cost to attend?
It's absolutely free.
I know. I was just setting you up for that, just so you could say that.
Exactly.
It's no cost.
Yeah, we are so excited to be able to provide this, and thanks so much to the East Cleveland Community Center for letting us utilize their space. They also do a gardening event, and I'm not sure exactly when they do theirs. I think it's weekly maybe, but they have like a gardening club or something that they do, and they do all sorts of activities for the community. They're really trying to focus on getting more community involvement, because we're just really noticing among the nonprofits, we've really noticed that there's just a lot of social isolation.
Yes, there is. You have to, sometimes when you do these events or go to these events, you're going to have to kind of put yourself forward a little bit, and not everybody's really good at that. We were talking earlier prior about BNI and things like that, our networking group, and the fact that, can you all hear that over the air? Okay, guys, we're not having a incident outside. They just decided they needed it and do some work. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh no, BNI and other groups like that. Some groups you have to put yourself out there. Now, fortunately for us, Erica's been part of BNI for a while. We get a pretty good group about trying to bring people in. But for a lot of these people that are kind of already anxious about going to one of these events, I'm sure you have to make extra effort to make sure they feel included and welcome and all this other stuff, right?
And we do. We want everyone to feel included, that there is a space for you here. And we are inviting families to come. If you want to bring your kids, this is a kid-friendly activity. They are welcome to come. You can bring your grandmother or your best friend. We just want to see the community come out and participate in an activity together where we can just encourage each other and grow together.
As far as like other activities planned, there are other things to do besides gardening or whatnot. I was just thinking, what else do I find therapeutic? One thing I like to do is cook. All right. I don't know if you could ever do that, but you never know. I always enjoy that. It's not so much the food. I like to eat the food, but I like the process of creation.
Yes. I've always wanted to do, I haven't done it yet, but the make your own ravioli classes, and you make the dough and you fill it. And I think that could be something, we talk about, because the East Cleveland Community Center, they have a big industrial kitchen and cafeteria area. But I think just creating things with your hands, whether it's food, crafts, gardening, when you're doing things with your hands, your mind isn't able to also focus on everything that might be going wrong. You can only do one or the other. And so that's how like art therapy is such a thing that works
It's a
for
big
people.
thing, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I've heard about art therapy for a while now. About people, think, well, I'm not an artist. I don't, no. That's not the purpose of it. We're not trying to find the next Rembrandt or something like that.
Yes.
And another thing that I've often heard about helping people with, these anxiety issues, depression issues, whatever, is community service related things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Going to the park and doing, cleanup or doing something productive like that. So you'd have some sort of sense of accomplishment after it's over.
Yes, we did something similar for our Valentine's Day event. We made little goodie bags and Valentine's cards and then took them to the residents at Elk Creek Living. And they were so happy to receive that stuff. But you could also tell the energy in the room whenever we were doing that. We had a bunch of youth there that volunteered their time. And when you, like you said, when you're doing something for someone else, it makes you feel good.
Well, I'm glad you embrace these different methods instead of just having, speakers or, or group sessions or whatever else. But, you look for alternative methods of trying to introduce mental health practices. You don't see that all the time. Y'all just sit around the table and think these things up, do you?
Well, Sarah's come up with some great ideas for our future plans because we do want to continue this and we're hoping to spread it out in the community, not just Cleburne, not just Burleson, but other communities as well. So if there's anyone listening that might have a great idea on where we should go next, please give us a ring.
Okay. Well, are you not located in Cleburne anymore, are you?
No, we don't have an office in Cleburne. We actually office out of Midlothian.
That's what I thought,
But we are also out in the community doing community work. The best way probably to get a hold of us would be at our website or our Facebook or our email, rajc@reachcouncil.org.
Well, if they just Google it, I would imagine. What would they Google under? Just Reach Across Johnson County, and there it is?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
our Facebook page should come up. And that's where we're very heavily on Facebook. We're trying to also, have a presence on Instagram and other platforms as well. But we do always post our events and things coming up on Facebook. So
that may be another basis for one of your seminars is that social media, because that causes a great deal of stress. I'm sure y'all deal with that a lot. Social media anxiety, particularly with younger people.
absolutely.
Even at my age, you can get bombarded with a lot of stuff, but a lot of us know how to kind of step out of it. But a lot of these young people, that's all they ever knew.
Right.
They don't know about reading a newspaper, or something like that, and they're bombarded with information and news and, and ads and social events or whatever else. And so a lot of kids, I mean, it's almost like you take their phone away and it's like a physical withdrawal.
It is. And I think, people don't post the bad things on social media as often as they post all the good. And so kids, they look at that and they're thinking like, why is all of this stuff happening to me when she's over there living her best life? But, it limits that personableness. That's not a person on the other side of that screen. That's just, an account or whatever.
Well, one thing I always was concerned about, particularly when I was teaching high school level classes, is that they're so focused on that phone that they don't really interact with each other. And I'd walk into a classroom, say, 20 years ago, and there'd be some people, and they'd be talking a little bit and kind of having a little conversation. Now they would all be looking at their phone. This happens at DBU when I walk in the room. There's very little interaction amongst each other. They're either on their laptop or on their phone, and it isolates them. And then like school events, I'd say around the early part of the century, around the turn of the century, so to speak, we'd have a dance or an event, and it would be fairly well attended. By my last couple of years there at BHS, we could have a dance in here. There was because there's so few attendees because they don't socialize. They don't get out as much. The attendance at the sports went down. The big football game wasn't a big deal. They'd rather go home or just hang out on their phones. And that really concerns me still, is a lack of social interaction that these kids have.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons I feel so strongly about these events is because they do encourage you to connect with others. So many times, you have so many contacts in your phone. You have your 600 plus friends on Facebook, but how many are really your friends?
Well, I got a bunch of friends that I haven't really met, but because they may have heard about the show, and that kind of thing, they may ask me friends, and then I'll check them out as best I can. And if they're okay, sure. But, I use text from my friends and whatnot, but we still get together.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if the younger generation does that very much. I mean, it's like, church attendance is down, social activities are down. They're just more and more isolated, and I'm sure that is contributing to some of the symptoms y'all are seeing.
It is. I've had the privilege to do a couple focus groups with some various youth groups around town, and basically a focus group it's kind of like an interview with a group of people. I get to ask them some questions, get their answers, and then we can dive deeper. It's not just a survey where they have to pick 1 to 5 scales or something. I can really get down to the problem. And a lot of these kids, they have a desire to attend things like this and to get out and be in public and be, out of their rooms, but they lack either transportation to get there, or, they need parent permission a lot of times, and families are all different about what they allow their kids to go to and what they don't. And but I have seen a need, kids they throw out ideas. They want a skate park in Cleburne. They want, like the Alley Cats in Burleson is great, but those kids in Cleburne can't make it all the way to Burleson, and Cleburne doesn't have much, which is where most of my focus groups have taken place, is with some middle and high school students in Cleburne. But they do have a desire to connect, but I think that maybe they don't have the know-how.
Well, one thing I'm encouraged is that it's a growing movement among schools to take phones out of them. You come in and you put your phone in some sort of, protective place in the building, and you pick it up as you leave, as opposed to having it all the time. And I had a couple of parents kind of push back on that. Well, what if I need to get a hold of them in an emergency?
Call the school.
Call the school. Same as they did in our day. They called the school, something like that. But as far as taking the phones out of the classroom and and putting them somewhere else, it forced them not only just to focus on the schoolwork, but on each other a little bit more. And they had to start building connections.
Right.
Yeah.
And despite being in a room full of people, this generation feels more lonely than ever.
Absolutely it does. And I haven't talked to high schoolers much in the last 3 or 4 years, but I still taught a lot of young people, still do, and I feel badly for them actually, because they just didn't grow up. What'd you do on a Friday night? Well, they texted or they played games on the video, Call of Duty or something like that. And what did I do? Oh, we played basketball. We ran around and hung out at the Jack in the Box or whatever. We were together doing stuff, even if we weren't really doing anything.
Right.
And I just think these kids don't do that. And that's a real problem.
Definitely not as much. I know, especially with the online gaming world that it is now. You can have friends that you call your friends that you've never met, you've never really connected with, but you talk to them, all night long while you play the game. But then, is that really a friend if you've never met them? And yes, it is, but I think it lacks that in-person connection, that getting out of your bedroom and going to do something. It's really, I think, limiting. I think it was really cool during COVID, when we all had to be isolated and that happened, and there were ways to connect that weren't in person. But now that we're out of that kind of issue, just getting back to in person, getting out of your house, out of those same 4 walls you see all the time.
It's been my contention that 100 years from now, when they look back on this era, we're going to have a much better understanding what COVID actually did to our society.
Absolutely.
And none of it good.
Yeah, I mean, even now, it's only been 5 years since it really kicked off. But even where we get our grant funding from the state, they are now recognizing, hey, mental health is probably important to focus on too. And it's well, yeah, if only you could have seen that 25 years ago, imagine where we'd be. But I mean, I think COVID did really shine a light on, we already had poor mental health before, and then isolation just drastically changed it.
And even at my age, I have to sometimes force myself to interact. It's easy. I don't have as many obligations as I used to. It'd be easy for me just to kind of hide at the house and
yeah.
Technology makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
You can have just about anything delivered.
Right. And I said, no, I don't want that kind of life. So I will sometimes get out of the house just because I want to be around other people. Mm-hmm. And even if I'm not in the mood, sometimes I know that I need to not isolate myself. And I know other people are just, they just go to work and they come home, they go to work and they come home, and they don't do anything else.
Right.
And that's not good. So when y'all do these seminars, y'all focus on a certain aspect like social media related problems or like depression, like anxiety. It's like there's a topic it's focused on, or is it more generalized?
We try to cover we have a different topic at each one, but try to cover a multitude of things underneath that topic, such as growth and resiliency. There's a lot of different ways that can cover different people, because we do want to try to connect with all ages. Really, we have kids probably as young as 10 on up through adults, seniors. We have people my age, people Gracie's age. We have a wide variety of people, so we want to be inclusive and try to have a little something for everybody, but we do have different topics.
Yes.
There's another aspect of mental health that I think it's now been focused on. That's how diet plays a role in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all that processed food has led to a lot of health issues, and which leads to mental illness issues. Also, the fact is everything's so processed with sugar and everything else. It's not good for you.
It's awful. I've recently really been trying to pay attention to that kind of stuff, and it's just, it's insane that you can think that this, trail mix is healthy, and then you look at the ingredients and it's got, oh my gosh, like it really is. And like you said, if you're a car, if we look at our bodies like a car and we put water in the gas tank instead of fuel, we're not going to get anywhere. If we're not fueling our bodies, we're not going to run as efficiently as we could.
Yeah, my wife's trying to get me to eat more fruit, but I do eat a lot of vegetables. You try to have a couple of vegetables every meal, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I eat better because of her. I know that if I were unmarried, I'd be about 50 pounds overweight. I'd be drinking out of the bottle. I'd be eating out of a can over the sink, that kind of stuff, I'd be a complete slob if it weren't for my wife. And so that's, I guess, her burden, I suppose, keep me from that goal, that end result. But I know that diet does play a bigger role in mental health than we realized, because of that sugar and carbs and whatever else constantly. I just hurt when I go into like a gas station, and I see kids ready to go to school and they're eating those powdered donuts with chocolate milk, and I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Well, Mom, what are you doing? Give the kid an apple,
And then no place to run off energy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, as we progress in generations, we love convenience. Every single food place has some type of handheld item you can eat in the car while you're driving. We love getting things quick. And right now, we've got, like Erica said, everything gets delivered and you can pay for express delivery because you want it right now. And that really, you're in a rush. I feel like everyone is always in a hurry, where you've always got so much on our plates that, cooking a well-balanced meal that can take an hour and a half, 2 hours to prepare, that just doesn't seem feasible. And so it's so much easier to go through the drive-through,
Right.
And it's just really hard to shift that habit that you formed of that convenience.
And it takes some discipline. Like when I go to our place, I'd love to have some pie.
Oh, that looks so good.
And I've had a piece or two, and it's really, really good. It's great. But I have to have some discipline. All right, or else, I'm going to really be in problems. So, I go to restaurants like our place, and I've gone a couple of, sorry, Otto, I'm sorry to tell you, I've been to a couple other places in town. Now, there's a couple of places he really likes to go to. I'm cognizant about what I'm about to order. How many carbs are in it? How many calories are in it? Is it balanced enough between protein and vegetables, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I didn't think like that when I was 40. Or I certainly didn't think like that when I was in college. I lived on pizzas and bean burritos,
Yeah.
But now that I've kind of, not just the weight issue, but all that research that shows how it relates to mental health and stability, I'm more cognizant of that than I used to be.
Well, it can definitely, when you're putting the wrong things in your body, you can feel fatigued. And, if you feel fatigued, you don't want to get up and go anywhere. You just want to lay in bed and watch Netflix or whatever. And it's really just physical health, mental health, nutrition, socialization. Like it all plays a part in that wheel of, a well-balanced, healthy life.
Maybe it's a seminar topic for, your next one. Do you have one planned in the future after this one?
Yes, we'll be doing one in August as well. So stay tuned for that right before the kids go back to school.
It's so funny. Every year I taught school, I'd see parents about mid-August and like, thank God school's about to start,
Maybe we should do one on busyness and, the fact that we're busy and not productive.
Well, that's what I like about your seminars, though. It isn't just, okay, here's some, speakers about dealing with anxiety. It's like, there's a kind of a focused topic, like this one you're doing here next week, is focused on a certain, not just therapy, if you will, but also what the therapy is supposed to be helping with. So maybe you could do one on diets. Maybe you can do one on.
Absolutely.
I tell you another thing. It just my personality. If I'm not fairly scheduled, if I don't know what my schedule is, I feel out of sorts. I'm not a highly regimented person. I'm not OCD or anything like that. But I need to know, okay, this is what I got going on at this time.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people could use that kind of skill about budgeting their time.
Absolutely.
That right there is a skill is, I know people that are constantly thrashing about because they don't really use their time very effectively. And then they have to rush to get things done. So you're that person?
I'm very guilty of that. Working on it, but still a work in progress for sure when it comes to that.
Maybe overcommitting and needing to prioritize.
Yes. Yes. All of the above.
Mine is procrastination.
Oh, that too.
I'm guilty.
I mean, that's my deal. Sometimes I need to, I always think, okay, if I wait to the last minute, someone's going to get in the way in that last minute and I'm going to be stuck. So I usually do things, fairly quickly, like something I had to have done by Friday. I'll try to have it done by Wednesday because if I wait till Friday morning, something's going to happen. It's like like entering grades into the grade book or, at the end of the semester, like I have to do in about a month. I'm not going to wait till the deadline because something happened. The computer goes down or whatever.
Website crashes, Wi-Fi, whatever.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of topics y'all can address. And if people feel like they have control over their time and schedule, that probably is one less thing to be anxious about, I would think.
Right. But also making sure that the people in our community have the things that they need, just to basic needs to function, such as food insufficiencies. We're seeing that kind of thing a lot. But Gracie has been working on something amazing, if she would like to talk about it.
I would love to. I don't know if there's the logo, the starting point, if we could throw that up there.
I don't know if we got, no, Josh says no. I don't know if we got that one.
Well,
Did you send it to us?
I did. I sent it in a separate email.
Separate email? Check that out if we can still find it, please.
But essentially, for the past, 3 years, a group of nonprofits got together and formed a collaborative, and we were like, okay, what do we need? How can we work together and be stronger together instead of trying to all change the world our separate ways? And we just really saw how many resources are available in Johnson County that nobody knows about, that no one knows there's a place you can go get diapers and formula, or you can go and get food on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. So we created essentially an online phone book for all of the resources. And you are able to go onto this website and you can, it's AI powered. And so you can go on there in the search bar and you can say, hey, I'm a struggling single mother. I just lost my job. I need help. Where do I start? And it can pull up after school programs. It can pull up nutrition opportunities.
There you go.
Yes. Starting point, jctx.org. I really encourage everyone to just check it out, because even if maybe you personally don't need, food resources or utility assistance or anything like that, you definitely know someone that does, even if they're not verbally loud about it. Our community is struggling, and the economy and everything is expensive, and the list goes on and on. But there is help that's locally. You don't have to drive to Fort Worth for everything. And so,
Well, in Burleson, they have this as well. And the police have a victims assistance program.
Yes,
You know,
Stephanie.
yeah, Stephanie Beard, right? And Colin Gregory helps with that as well. And so that's a pretty good resource. And a lot of the Burleson nonprofits work together really, really well. But I don't know, other parts of the county I'm not as familiar with. I don't really know all the outfits in Joshua or Cleveland. And I would like to have them on the show, but, sometimes I don't even know that they exist, to be frank.
exactly.
I don't even know who to call because I don't know, do they have it at all?
There are over 600 nonprofits that are registered with the IRS in Johnson County alone.
Really?
Did you have any idea? I did not.
I did not
didn't.
either.
I was going to guess maybe like 60, but it just kept going and going and going. And so this website has right now a little over 200 that are on there, and we go through and we vet everything. So we make sure the phone number's right, the address, the contact information is there. There's also a way that you can go into the website and you can add an entry. So if we, this is still a growing thing. We're actually having our official launch party tonight at Cleburne High School cafeteria, 5 to 7. We're going to have food there, and we're just trying to bring awareness.
Being the 22nd.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are going to hear this on the 23rd, I'm afraid.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
yes.
so-
Tonight, April 22nd in the evening at Cleburne High School. Just really excited to get this into the community more. I ordered 4,000 flyers and they're already gone. People are just so, I've just seen so much excitement about this because it's just been such a common thing. We've got all these problems and we don't know where we can go to get help. And then, not wanting to ask for help, being, maybe pride playing an aspect. You can go and do this on your own and no one has to know you're looking this stuff up.
Well, how I get a hold of a lot of the nonprofits is word of mouth.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's like I started doing Crowley House of Hope in the last few months. And it's a block away, and I did not know it. And it was Jennifer Woods that told me about it and connected us with Elizabeth. And I'm like, there's a lot of things out there in Cleburne and Joshua. I'm sure Alvarado and Grandview have theirs. And I've made this show available. I just don't even know to whom.
Right.
And so I guess if y'all run into some, y'all can give my email address or
Absolutely.
whatever. Because I'm trying to branch out more than just Burleson, try to be Johnson County as a whole, because as we grow, our community is kind of not just getting bigger individually, but it's merging together. I mean, Joshua, Cleburne, Burleson is becoming kind of like its own mini metroplex kind of thing. And so...
Yeah, the growth is, it's just insane. So much growth in Johnson County. And with growth does come, problems.
Okay,
And
so startingpointjctx.org.
yes.
Okay. There's a couple other nonprofits I like to hit up, so let's run through those. Okay, Josh? All right. First of all, these people as well. Next Step Women's Center with Megan and Summer, they have their big Walk for Life this Saturday on the 26th at Bailey Lake Park at 9 o'clock. There's the QR code to sign up. You could sponsor a walker. You can be a walker. You can donate or whatever. It's a big fundraiser. They do two a year, and this is their first one. So it's over 9 o'clock, Bailey Lake Park. It's a great day. If the weather isn't good, which who knows, accommodations will be made. Last year, it got rained on, and our friends at the Church of Christ provided their facility, which was very, very kind and neighborly of them. And we, hopefully can get this in outside because that's where it belongs. Also Sunday, we know this coming up, the Vineyards at Vibes. Our friend Garrett has been promoting this at BNI, and same with Amber Case. Harvest House, Vineyard Vibes, hit the QR code. It's $25 a ticket. At the event, it's $30. So it's all the money, of course, helps raise money for all the things that Harvest House does. And I had Amber and Elizabeth Becker from House of Hope and Debbie Beeman from Promises Community on the 7th of this month, because there's some changes coming into the food bank system that's really going to need for the community to step up their game. It's going to be more and more difficult to get federal funding for some of these things. And so I had them on and talk about what they need. And this is a big one for them, for Harvest House. It's a big fundraiser. And we have Seat on the Hill. Yesterday, I had Liz Hargrove on talking about that. This is with our friends at the Crazy Eights. Their ministries, and they have a very ambitious building program they're trying to launch. And what they want to do is pay off their debt now and try to be able to build this new facility that's going to really expand their ability to serve. City on the Hill, May 10th, 10 to 12. 10 to 2, I'm sorry. Oops. 10 to 2 over at Burleson High School. No fees are going to be asked. If you want to be a vendor, you don't have to pay for that. It's a free event. Like y'all's is a free event. Okay? So if you would, Josh, put up their logo one more time so we could let y'all. Oh, wait, I forgot. I need to talk about my buddy Rich Hooper. If you would.
At 88.3?
Yeah, he's promoting the show. And yesterday's show too. But he's telling people, hey, if you want to hear about what's going on in this, that, or the other, check out Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. And so I send him like a little advertising blurb or whatever, and he's going to be talking. He talked about it this morning about how we'd be talking about all these things. And so hopefully his listeners will tune into the show, whether it be YouTube or on the radio station or whatever else. And not his radio station, mine, I mean. And you'll hear about what's going on, okay? And speaking of my radio station, Community Radio TX, this will be on tonight at 6 and then tomorrow again at 1 o'clock. So people who, were driving around town or whatever, and they dial in, or not dial in so much. It's it's online. So it's TuneIn, Odyssey, and Live 365. They'll be able to get all this information. So now let's talk about yours. Y'all finish this off with all the information about all that's going on May 1st.
So next Thursday, May 1st, 5:30 to 8 p.m., we will be at the East Cleburne Community Center. 5:30, the doors will open. You'll be able to come in and make a plate. We will have free dinner there for everyone who attends. And then our speaker, Sarah Tynan, will start around 6, and she'll speak for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we will do our craft. There will be little terracotta pots, acrylic paint, flowers. You can paint and decorate your pot, plant your flower, and it's all completely free. We'd love for you guys to come, bring friends, bring family. We do ask that you register only because it gives us an idea of how much food to buy. We want to make sure that everyone gets completely fed and goes home with leftovers if they want them. And so that's all we ask. But if you do not get a chance to register, please don't let that stop you from coming. We would love to see you there regardless.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate what y'all do. I've come to appreciate it more as I've gotten older. And so y'all do good work.
And we really appreciate you having us on here, helping us advertise.
Well, you got another one coming in August, so we'll make time for that as well.
Awesome.
Erica knows where to find me. So, she visits us over at B&I every now and then, and you're kind of like our go-to sub now, aren't you? Sometimes.
I try.
If you can make it. Okay. Next week, I have a couple of guests I'm trying to book, but they're not confirmed, so I'm not really going to commit to that yet. So I'm really going to have a kind of a loose week next Monday and Tuesday. So we'll see what happens then. But, I'll probably know by the end of the week whether the potential guests I've asked can commit to it. So I'm rather than I'll just save it for then. Anyway, Josh, thank you for being quick and nimble as always on the keyboards. And y'all, thank you very much. We'll see y'all.
Thank you.
Good. Have a great meeting next week.